Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, welcome back to Velocity Observer. I am Velocity Observer and I create lots and lots of fantasy art for my world called Persevera. And today I will be showing you this cool concept that I made, and I'll be showing you this little time-lapse. The time-lapse of the concept that we're going to be talking about today. And it's called the Eggstones. Okay, it's called the Eggstones. Now, what you're seeing here is just a fun little doodle. And by the way, I haven't drawn like this before. I actually have, but I haven't shown it to you. If you recognize whose art style this was drawn in, let me know in the comment section below, because I drew this in the style of one of my favorite artists, and he's actually quite popular here on YouTube. So if you found me, chances are you found him. Okay, so now back to the Eggstones itself. There isn't really one stone called the Eggstone, because the Eggstone is actually just like a whole phenomenon of a thing that happens in Persevera. And you know how you can actually dig in the dirt for gemstones or minerals. You can actually find them if you just dig and if you know where to look. There are lots of videos online showing you these things. People just start digging. They teach their kids where to dig, and they just find crystals. And like if you dig in a mine, you'll find ores. You can even crack open a rock and you can find crystals, like a big rock with lots of amethyst gemstones inside of it. Well, what happens in Persevera is there's just something about the way the natural resources of the world itself that it can just get so intense. Even the minerals can form even more minerals inside of them. Like, let's compare it to, let's say, an amethyst. The outer shell is actually just a rock, so the good stuff is inside. But in Persevera, when certain conditions are met, and once in a while, these gemstones that are just so rich in energy, it can actually form more stones in its center. So it's like a gemstone with more gemstones as its core, but a different kind of gemstones. So the outer shell is still very valuable because the outer shell itself is made of gemstones. So because in this case, the outer shell isn't even just a rock. So it's a gemstone inside of a gemstone. I find it to be very cool. I don't even know why these things don't happen on Earth. Because it sounds like it's supposed to be possible. And now if these gemstones are covered in some rock or dirt, then I guess that would make it like a layer, like a 3-layer mineral, like a layer party. So it's dirt or rock, and then mineral, and then more mineral, and then so in a way you can actually say that these gemstones give birth. It's a bit of a joke actually, because where I come from, there's this traditional food which is pretty much it's meatballs. It's meatballs. I'm pretty sure every other country have their own version of just meatballs as a traditional dish, but where I come from, they actually turn it into a lot of different variations. There are just meatballs that contain whole eggs. There are ones with so much spice inside that you'll just explode if you bite into it. And there are even ones that contain even more meatballs. If you bite into it, lots of little meatballs will just come out. It's really funny. But pretty much I was just simply inspired by a combination of that little trivia and that little doodle of a cracked open egg that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And that one egg I showed you was inspired by House of the Dragon Season 2, because I was super into it when I was drawing this. It happened several weeks ago. But thanks to those two things, meatballs and House of the Dragon, here we are today with fantasy stones that give birth. Fun. And I'd like to really explore this concept some more. For a long time actually, and I'd also like to come up with as many stones as possible, but I actually can't, at least for now, because today we're just going to have to make do with 4, because Persevera itself isn't all that fleshed out. like I haven't shown you a close-up of much, you know, everything's sort of big picture, and I haven't been able to do more and do faster because I'm just one guy and I only have two hands. So today I'm just going to introduce to you these 4 stones. And the first one I'm going to call the Light Eater. Light Eater stones. So let me read this for you. So it can assimilate with plants. As you can see in the background, there is this a cluster of crystals that's actually coming out of a plant, kind of like a flower. And it's this one. I haven't really thought of where to put it. Maybe I can put it somewhere near the spookier areas of Northern Glaive, because these things absorb light. So it would make a scary area with like zombies and skeletons and ghosts even more scary, because it's just darker, you know. Lots of these light eaters, like it might even be like a whole map could be covered with these things, and it will still look like it's dark, like it's just rocks because it's so dark. It might emit like a little like a glow, like the kind of effect I have in mind if you were to step into an area filled with these things is everything is sort of in the twilight zone, and you can just see this very dim glow coming from these emitted by these Light Eater stones. So as it says right there, its surface emits a glow, but the core absorbs light. So it's very creepy. Coming up next, I'm gonna call this one Moon Milk Stone. So there's an ore inside of this crystal rock thing, and it's leaking milk that also has some use. And the use that I had in mind is, at least it would be very, very useful if you were to apply it to a weapon. Like it could make it extra sharp. Like if you apply it to a weapon, it makes it easier to sharpen, because it contains some sort of abrasive that helps you grind down metal and keep it sharp. And once it's dry, it's going to preserve the metal, so it stays sharp for a long time. And I call it the Moon Milk Stone because milk comes out of it when it cracks, and it really only cracks open when the moon's out. Like, I haven't really thought of why, but I was inspired by moonshine, where how people they make moonshine in America. They make moonshine, well, at least back then, they make them at night when the police aren't awake. I find it very funny. So I figured I should make a stone that only cracks open at nighttime when the moon's out, and it's called the Moon Milk Stone. And as you can see, it even looks like a moon, and the color of the stone itself is a very, very nice and soft blue. Like it's very, very, very soft. It's just nice to look at, just like looking at the moon. Like it's bright, but it's not too bright. And there's this next one. I'm gonna call it honey eggs. And sorry about the centipede. I really wanted to make it look like it's something that an insect would visit. And if I drew like an ant, it would look too small, because I want this thing to look quite big. And since this is supposed to be like a dark scene, I didn't want to draw like little bugs, because I don't know if you'd be able to tell if those are bugs. So I drew like a big centipede. And as it says right there, a stone would form from the special properties of this burl. And let me tell you, there's actually a stone inside. But this one's the reverse of the other stones, of the other egg stones, because the stones, the wooden shell outside actually forms around the stone. It nurtures the growth, kind of like fertilizer, of organic matter of trees and plants around it. And you know, the thing about plants is the older they get, the more they just solidify, the more they turn into wood, they become more woody. So I did this because there's just lots of plant matter. In this case, it's a tree burl that has just formed around this honey egg because it's trying to absorb the benefits of the energy being emitted by the honey egg stones by just encapsulating the whole thing with a burl. It's kind of like the way solar panels work. There was this movie that I was watching. I don't know if this is plausible, but I've heard this argument where an alien civilization could just surround a whole sun with solar panels, and that way, like a whole star, like surrounded by solar panels, would just give the civilization an infinite amount of energy. And I kind of wanted to do the same thing here, but instead of like a giant sun and lots of solar panels, it's just like a little humble honey egg stone surrounded by wood attached to a tree. And yeah, hope you like this one. I think it looks really nice and cute, even though it's a centipede that's trying to peek inside. And this very next one, I'm going to call it sponge stones because as it says there, it's a stone infused with water energy and an elemental core. In this case, it's a water elemental core. It's residing within. This one's not gonna crack open like the moon milk stone. It's more like the light eater. It merely has a core, and if you really want to get to it, you have to crack it open to get it. And I haven't really thought of a good place to put the sponge stones in Northern Glaive, because I had in mind that these things will only crystallize and become rocks when the quality of the water is so high or so rich. It actually gives you a sort of benefit if you were to bathe in it, or like if you were to drink it. So maybe somewhere with lots of really, really good water, you know, like France. I'm just kidding. Somewhere with really, really good water, these stones will start to crystallize. As you can see, it's hugged by like a tree because it's very moist, and whatever sort of plant matter that is close to these crystals will never die out because they just don't run out of water, you know. And yeah, that's about it for my stones. And as I've said, I'd really love to come up with many more of these egg stones, but I'm afraid coming up with too many stones right now, it would kind of be like just too much of a waste. And the kinds of stones I would come up with would probably be crazy anyway. Like, I don't want to come up with a lot and end up not putting any of them into my world, you know. Like, I can already tell a lot of these can definitely be implemented into Northern Glaive, the area of the Northern Glaive area of Persevera, because none of these stones are particularly icy or like fiery or anything too extreme besides the sponge stone. It's more of a pure water energy type of stone, because everything else, they just look like they're generic types of stones, like elemental stones. Like, as I've said, only in places where the water quality is so high, I would actually put the sponge stones there. Maybe something actually happens to the water if you put the sponge stones there. I don't know. Like, I haven't really thought that far yet. But for now, I'm just happy I came up with these egg stones, and I hope that you're happy that you've witnessed me ramble on about these fantasy stones that don't even exist. I really had a lot of fun coming up with these. You know, would like to do more in the future. As always, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you've got questions about these egg stones or about anything, you know, I always read and I always reply, so don't forget to comment. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe too, guys, because otherwise I won't be able to keep doing this anymore. Yeah, that's gonna be enough for this week's video. Hope you like it, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.